Welcome to Whitstable! Whitstable is a surprising location for you to go, and it's a great place for your itinerary if you're traveling around the UK, or if you happen to be close by, sort of like in the south of England. Fantastic day trip. But anyway, enough of that. Let's get straight into what it is you can do when you're in Whitstable. So Whitstable has a castle in it. This is what makes this place a little bit shocking and a little bit surprising. And it's like, wow, actually Whitstable is actually a really cool place. There's a lot of cool and interesting things, and one of them is the castle. Unfortunately, at the moment, it's going through a process of remodeling, so it's got some scaffolding up, and it also goes through a process which I like to call uglification. However, it's probably unfair, as they kind of like put things in the way. It's almost like we're sick and tired of people always taking photos of our locations. So we'll put like a giant tree there and put some other stuff in the way, but I'm sure it's just actually better for the customers this way. It's just unfortunate, when you're trying to get the best photos you can, it doesn't always come out that way. But the castle is still really cool. The grounds around the castle is really pretty. The gardens around the castle, it's really nice to walk around this area. You can get some great views. The castle does have a bit of a history to it, so this is a nice area to come chill. I think it's a coffee shop inside, and I think there are some hotel rooms as well. So this would be a great location to spend your time here in Whitstable. Now I should add that the castle is free to enter the grounds, which is fantastic. So you can walk around the whole castle and take some great Instagram photos without having to worry about having to pay for it. Having such a grand building that you can go and see for free is always on the plus side. But there is also so many other things here in Whitstable to do, which is just like, this makes this place really cool and interesting to come for a day trip or an overnight trip. You go to the Tankerton slopes and the Tankerton beach, which are really cool areas to relax and just chill for the afternoon. The Tankerton slopes have the sort of the huts on them for like storage. Maybe some people sleep in them, but I think it's mostly for storage and chilling out on the beach. They're all like sort of painted really interestingly, like different colors, so it's quite pretty to like walk around in between them and see all the different colors that they are. A very cool little feature here in Whitstable. The Tankerton huts are a great location to also take photos. The color and the beauty really kind of bring this place to life. You kind of enjoy just kind of walking around there, seeing all the different patterns and the colors, trying to find like which one is your favorite one. Obviously the pink Barbie one is definitely going to be a hot favorite for many people, I believe. And then you've got the harbour beach and the boats around the harbour as well, which is just around the corner, which is also, this is where our hotel was and where we were staying. Really another beautiful location, so you can check out both. They're pretty similar, but they're very, very cool. You can check out both to see what they're both like. And you've got the harbour market as well, which has like sort of little huts, and there's some food stands, and there's some other like small shops with like paintings or oyster shells decorated, which are also pretty cool. Now, depending on the weather, they may not always open if it's going to be like too rainy, because I assume they're going to be like, well, there aren't going to be any customers, so maybe we won't really open, or they'll be open a little bit later, as they don't need to open too early. So make sure when you're coming here, you're planning your time around to go to each location when things are open, because things do tend to close early. Like, we was walking around town at like 5-6 o'clock and everything was kind of closed already. So when you go into town, which is another cool thing, just walking around town here in Whitstable, there are cool little shops to explore, nice little food restaurants, some local restaurants, and other cuisines if you don't want to eat locally, to explore the town just a little bit and maybe find like a small gem that you wouldn't find anywhere else. One of the biggest attractions for coming to the British seaside around this area is the sunset. Now, if you get good weather, you're going to have a lit up sky as the sun sets. Now, we managed to get a lot of clouds. We can see parts of the sunset, like some beautiful reds, some beautiful yellow, some beautiful orange, but unfortunately we didn't get the grand sky. If you come here on a good day, then you're going to get one of the most epic sunsets here in Whitstable as well as Margate. So we did miss out on one big opportunity in Whitstable, and that was going to the Old Neptune pub. It's a pub that's apparently been there for a very long time, but we didn't go to it, one, because by the time we had finished taking photos and videos of the sunset, it was quite late, since the sun sets around 9:30 here in the UK. And also we couldn't really drink there because I was driving. Now obviously we could get a non-alcoholic drink, but why go to a pub and get a non-alcoholic drink? So the Old Neptune pub would be another fantastic place to go that we kind of regret not seeing. We stayed in the Hotel Continental, however, not directly in the hotel. They have locations outside down by the harbour. So down by the Tankton beach, and we are on the harbour. So it's about a 10-minute walk. The beach house, or the beach hut, or the boathouse, sorry. The boathouse is a very cool design. It's very nice. It's very modern on the inside. The bed was comfortable, which is probably the most important thing, considering you just kind of come here, you put your suitcase down, and you go to sleep. The shower was nice. So shower and bed is good. And that's all you really ask for where you're staying when you're traveling. Now it is a bit thin wall, so last night we could hear the TV next door, but after we knocked and suggested, hey, can you mind turning the TV down, it was very polite, I apologized, and we didn't have any issues in the nighttime. But just be aware that the walls in the boathouse are thin, so you are going to hear a lot of stuff. And we got woken up very early in the morning by seagulls, cars driving on the outside, and hotel prices here are varied. Now we managed to get the Hotel Continental boathouse for about £84, which is quite expensive, but I'm starting to think that's just like an average price in the UK. Anything below £100 is like fantastic in the UK, as there are so many places that are above £100 a night all over the UK. And we are starting to get here during peak time. So we are here in July. Schools are still ongoing, but it's very close to being peak time. So a few people are probably taking their kids out of school to start their summer holiday a little bit early. But I'm sure there are other deals around. You can always look at them if you know certain apps that are slightly better, or if any sort of deals happen to come up on any sort of website for a specific time you're looking at. Like if you're looking at on a Tuesday, for example, apparently that's a better day to book flights and hotels. Maybe it's just a rumor or theory. Now food, just like in Margate, food down by the seaside is best for like fish and chips and ice cream. However, Whitstable has oysters. It's very famous for oysters, and one of the most famous places to eat them at is like the Wheeler's Oysters, I believe was the name of the restaurant. Either way, I do have a video showing you the restaurant. It's a very pretty pink building, and they serve oysters in many different ways. Now we had the rock oysters, and we just had it like straight, the traditional way, also the cheapest way. But you can get them with other sauces or done slightly differently, slightly more expensive. So we took them straight on the rocks. Now, if you're not a big fan of oysters, I don't think trying these oysters are going to suddenly make you love oysters. However, if you do like oysters, these will be maybe some of the freshest you can take, especially at certain periods of the year where it's like better for catching them, I believe. Now, I'm not a fisherman, so I'm not going to go too deeply into this, but oysters in Whitstable is the traditional food to try. However, failing that, just the standard fish and chips will be great. Now, getting to Whitstable can be quite historic. There's an old train line that runs from Canterbury to Whitstable called the Crab and Winkle line. However, this line closed down in like the 1950s and has since been, the line kind of still exists, but it's just kind of been turned into, say, like a walking path or a bike path. So if you want to go a very traditional way, you could walk or take a bike from Canterbury to Whitstable as one great way to get there. We didn't take this path because I'm driving around you. So we drove to Whitstable. We drove from Margate to Whitstable, which only took about 30 minutes. And if you're coming from London, you're probably looking at like less than a 2-hour journey, probably just slightly over 1 hour journey. There are also trains and coaches and buses you can take as well. However, I can't tell you, which train line and bus routes to take. But these options are there. Once you're in Whitstable, the best thing to do to get around town is just walking. Everything is close by. Taking a walk from the harbour beach all the way to Tunkerton Beach isn't really going to take you too long. It's about a 10-minute walk. You get to see the beautiful skyline as you're doing this walk. And if you're taking that walk at sunset, then that's going to look incredible. There are buses and taxis around, but again, these are for getting around the whole area, going to Canterbury and stuff. I used to work in the bowling alley in Whitstable when I was studying in Canterbury, and I used to get a bus from Canterbury to Whitstable very regularly to do my shifts in the bowling alley. Well, you don't need to worry about getting around Whitstable. Everything's in a small location and you can just walk around. But Whitstable isn't a place you're going to stay here too long. You don't really want to be here for like an entire week. It really is like a day trip place. Like we had a fantastic time here in Whitstable. I highly recommend this place. It is a beautiful location, but it is a small location. It really only takes 1 day to do it. So you really need to consider whether or not you want to stay here for one night. The only reason you would is that if you want to see the sunset, because the sunset is beautiful. But if you're going to be leaving early, but if depending on English weather, you may not get to see it how you want. So one of the better options might be to stay somewhere like Canterbury or in Margate and do like a day trip here. So your base is in Canterbury, you come out of Canterbury for the day, you spend a day in Whitstable, and you go back and you stay in Canterbury. We stayed here because we've got like a drone, we've got a camera, so this kind of stuff gets a bit heavy to carry around all day. So you want somewhere to like leave some luggage whilst you're exploring. But if you're not doing that and you're just coming here for a trip, then probably staying somewhere like Canterbury and taking a day trip into Whitstable is probably a much better idea than having to pay for the hotel and bring all your luggage here, as parking is also a bit of an issue. We had to park on the main street, just kind of like driving around looking for a parking space, as car parks here are incredibly expensive. Lastly, Whitstable is a fantastic place to take photos for Instagram and any other location you'd like to post on. So check out our Instagram show reel. Anyway, that's all I have to say for Whitstable now. And as we say in the UK, see you later, mate.